This is another episode of Shots, the movie review podcast by filmmakers. In this episode, we will be reviewing the movie House of Gucci by the director Ridley Scott, starring Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Al Pacino, Jared Leto. I was just about to do that.
Wait, in general or just in this movie?
But before we tell you how we really feel, I'm Haley.
I'm Chandler.
I'm Max.
Max has not seen the movie. We have, and we're gonna, after this, see if he wants to see it just based on our review.
Just give him a little bit of our opinion.
Yeah.
As many people do when they see a movie, go see it, don't, and see what his take is.
Burn it. Burn the billboards down in the city if you ever see it. Filming locations for this movie were mainly Italy and a little bit of Switzerland, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, I
Probably.
mean, in the movie, but I don't know if they actually went there.
I don't know. I should have looked that up. But I know they were for sure in Italy for a very long time. It was a crime drama. Haley, initial thoughts. Go.
As an Italian, I have no words, which is really hard for an Italian
Yeah.
to not have any words. I really do. It was the worst representation of authentic Italian people, accents, clothing was pretty, but just the whole thing was a little bit overdone, not authentic, which is a crime for a story that is supposed to be a true life story. Mm-hmm. It is supposed to be the real occurrence of this family and their tragic demise through this multi-million-dollar company that we now know today, and the backstory behind it, which is tragic. If you can look up and read the real story, I don't know how many spoilers you want to get, but it's like a family business. Gucci is a family business. A lot of Italians work in family businesses, most of them pertaining to the mafia, but this movie's not about that.
She said it, not me.
It's, I'm Italian, I have it on my side. It was a little bit embarrassing to see these, like, world-renowned American actors.
All Oscar-nominated or Oscar-winning.
Wonderful actors play such
And directed by a pretty award-winning director.
You would think, yeah. It was set in beautiful Italian buildings, and you can see the streets. Everything was so authentic that to hear, for one that we're all dying to criticize, is Jared Leto's Italian portrayal. His entire portrayal, his hand movements, his accent, his horrible character.
We literally laughed when he first started speaking, because I was like, this is a joke, right?
And then he kept coming on screen in the same horrible movements and accent, and I was like, oh my god, this is his character. I can't watch this. These scenes, I can't get out of my brain. But they were awful, and I am an Italian who speaks like this, but I have family who speaks in real Italian accents. And that man, I swear, I cannot do a real Italian accent. Like, who told him to speak like that?
Yeah. Go hang out with Al Pacino for 10 minutes.
Al
That'll help
Pacino's
you.
great. Pacino's Italian. Even Lady
Did he
Gaga had some
crush it?
Italian.
That's the thing that made
Did Pacino crush it?
Yeah, Pacino
But-
crushed it.
But for Pacino's son to be played by Jared Leto, they have not even remotely similar accents or portrayal.
I feel like, here's my main words for this. Cringy. Disrespectful. Horrible accents. Trash. Trailer gives away everything. Softball lobbed up. Could have knocked it home. Clear anticipation for the
All
movie.
fell on your head.
Everything fell down. Odd timeline.
The timeline did skip around a bit. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, they're married. Oh, they already went to New York. Oh, didn't they just get asked to go? Well, they're clearly back in Italy. Are they back in Italy or are they in New York? Well, she already had the baby. I thought she was just now pregnant. Well, she must be 9 months later. Like,
It was too messy, and if they had just done subtitles at the bottom of like clear what was happening, I could have kept up. They didn't do that until how many minutes into the movie? The last 5 minutes of the movie.
they just want you to know that, like, the day of the articles of the historic moment that this movie is actually about.
Well, Patricia, like, is known to be, she's a terrible person. Like, we all knew that going in. I want to see some fucked up shit. Didn't really see anything. Like, you kind of, like, we're like, yeah, what you're doing is bad, but I feel like I'm just watching Lady Gaga play an Italian woman.
Yeah, which I think she loved playing.
Yeah, I think
Clearly, she dug into that role.
I think she is full-blooded Italian, so I think it wasn't a bad casting. I think Adam Driver did what he could with the script, which I think was trash. I think Al Pacino is just great, and I love him. And I felt like his character. And Jared Leto, stop it. Also, I will say, all of the costumes were Gucci.
They looked
And
very pretty, but there
looked good.
is, I think, this like very distinct moment where she goes from being where Lady Gaga, the main character, who I thought owned her role. She did great in this character, but I think Lady Gaga just has that personality. She wants to play a character, and this was it for her, and I thought she did great. But she comes from a very like what is considered like a subtle family business, or her family's truck drivers. It's a little bit lower class, and then she ends up marrying into the Gucci family, and I think her clothes were already fantastic, and she was very well dressed, and the costume designer must have had a lot of fun with these Gucci materials and this vintage look, and you didn't really see that distinction where she went from being like this little lower class Italian to being very high dollar.
And it seemed like it happened fast. And characters were in and out. Jared Leto, his character, he played the brother, like a cousin, a Gucci cousin. It was like, why are you here? And now you're gone, and now you're back. Even Pacino, I felt that way. It mainly followed Lady Gaga's character. It was dull.
hidden
Everything was
agenda.
dull. Everything had no clear plot. Why? What's the why in the movie? No editing could have fixed that writing.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
Since
sure.
me being here is to see if you guys can convince me to watch it or not watch it. Is it so bad that it's worth watching?
No.
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 It's cringy. It's not like bad, watch it and look for things. It's certain scenes are like turn it off, turn it off, turn it off.
Oh,
You're- it-
man.
it would be-
That
it's-
sounds pretty
You're like, if you're watching it and with no context, you'd be like, damn, how did Lifetime get this many Oscar winners
You
to
think
do
it's
a
a
movie?
lifetime? Yeah.
There is, that's the thing. It's like, it could have been very well. I mean, this is a real life story. You want like real Italians in it. You want to see like these people are historic. Most of them are dead. You could have put even like no-name Americans, but there's like famous Italian actors out there who would have
Yeah.
happily done this role, their culture, their story, and had a much better portrayal of the story, even with it being kind of a choppy script, I think.
I think that the script was very bad. I think that there were a few good one-liners, mainly went to Lady Gaga, but there were a few good one-liners that I appreciated that were clever and brought a little comedy into it. Because the real story is a dark story. I think that the overall scenery and locations was beautiful.
Gorgeous. Couldn't have done better there.
I was just really disappointed. I think that's the main thing is I was really disappointed.
One of those movies when it comes out and you see the trailer before you can see it anywhere, you're like, oh, that's got to be good.
Right, that was my initial reaction
It's
as well.
gonna be. You just see Lady Gaga fully in this character and snapping her fingers, and you're like, oh, I want to see that badass woman. I want to see this story. I want to see her story. And this is about Gucci, which we all know, and there's a star-studded cast. And I think it had a lot of really good potential. I mean, of course, that was the trailer before you actually know anything about the story, but.
I did love all the espresso scenes. And I did love that in Italian culture, I think it's more European culture, but they go like that. It's so rude.
I have a great grandmother who does that.
And they go and they get their little espresso because they're annoyed. And I was like, Americans all get mad at me because I'm burning a hole in my stomach with acidic espresso, but
True.
I should have been European. That's what I'm learning.
I will say that's part of the. It's rude here for sure, but it's very
it's
much
rude.
like it's a unspoken.
I don't want to acknowledge what you just
It's
said.
a lot of your grandmother won't necessarily like yell at you to eat the food, but she'll look at you. She'll give a look to your mother or something. That is as good
Very
as like
judgy.
being cursed in public in America. It's just the judgmental looks, and that means everything. They do it with the family. He's like, oh, I want to marry Lady Gaga, Patricia, and his father's just like. Why? Why would you do? No, and she was nothing but polite at the one dinner where they met, and he just saw one thing that turned him off of her entirely, and that is
Do you know what
100% Italian.
I had hopes for is this would be the Italian kind of Wolf of Wall Street feeling movie where like you follow a character that's clearly a shitty person, and then they do illegal things or not or whatever, and they make a lot of money, and then it's party time, and then the FBI come in. It didn't feel that way.
Well, we didn't get to the FBI part. They just ended up in court.
Yeah, show me the court stuff. Where did that go? Suddenly,
It was like
suddenly they were just in court. And
The
the movie was
main-
over.
This
main,
movie
like,
sounds
point-
really bad. I want to see it. You're making it sound so bad that I want to see it.
the main like point of the story is to get to this like historic ending of what happens, and they brush through it. It's like, and then this happened, which you all know because you read the news in the '80s when it happened. You're like, okay.
I feel like Ryan Murphy, who did the Versace show, he would have done a better job. That was better. That's a good
that's a good
comparison of
point.
this.
He does love these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
It's very, very up his alley. I think you could make a series out of this. He could do a crime story out of this.
I wish he would.
That's what
redeem
this should have been. I would vote for this as a crime story. House of Gucci
I
crime
think
story.
it should have been a limited series instead of a movie.
Ooh.
Didn't have enough time. So,
Interesting.
House of Gucci is available in theaters. Is it on streaming? I didn't see it was on
I
streaming.
haven't seen it on.
So it should be on theaters. Probably will be available to streaming soon. Haley, what is your rating of House of Gucci?
I want to give it like a solid 5. I'm gonna go straight middle ground because it was set in Italy, which is gorgeous. They did have intense, awesome costumes, even if the thing could have been a little bit more distinguishing. And I loved Lady Gaga's character, and most of the movie is her. She digs into that character. And honestly, if you could skip all the scenes that she's not in, it would be a pretty good movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would give it a 5. I liked the location. I appreciated the costumes. And I think if you take out Jared Leto, the actors in it did the best they could with the script they were given.
If someone said, should I watch House of Gucci? It'd be like, depends. What do you want to watch it for? It's interesting. I don't care for it. I will not watch it again. I'm not going to watch it with you.
I'm not going to vote for it in any of the awards.
No,
Let's just say
and
that.
It's not going to be, no. But it is entertaining. God, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't.
Yeah. I would not pay to see it. If it's on streaming, watch
That's a
it.
good way
Yeah,
to say it.
yeah. That's
think
about
that's
middle of the
fair.
ground. What do you think, Max?
I want to, because I've heard a different thing about how they, I don't know if it's all the actors or just probably Jared Leto, go in and out of their accent, like,
Oh, yeah,
like
that happened too.
noticeably.
And driver, if any of them start yelling or speaking fast, they all drop their accents.
So I want
clear
to see it for
inserts
that.
with like ADR inserts where there's no accent at all, and you're like,
There was an
whoa.
ADR, there was an ADR of Adam Driver with no accent in the middle of the movie.
That makes no sense in terms of ADR. Like, you have total control.
I know, but it was clear they did it like months after. Maybe there was no dialect coach. He hadn't practiced.
I
like
have
it was,
to. I'm gonna see this
Because we both
movie.
paused and we're like,
Was that ADR?
he had no accent.
I'm gonna see this movie.
Not to mention, of the 4 main characters, their accents are so different.
Yeah.
That for some of them to like drop certain words, and we're like, oh, that's a hard word.
Which I feel like too in Italy, it's probably the same as like the UK or America. I don't know. I have not been to Italy, but you can tell certain places they're from by the
Certain regions have slightly different.
So
like,
that's why I'm like, why are they so?
Like everywhere in the world.
You should have had a dialect coach. Out.
I'm
I'm
sure,
sure
they
they
did.
did.
I'm sure they did.
They
That's
may never
another-
work again.
I quit.
That's House of Gucci for
Give
you.
me their number.
Goodbye. Oh, don't go see House of Gucci unless you want to watch it with me and talk about how bad it is.
Max needs a partner to watch it with.
Bye, y'all.
Max just needs a partner.
I'm signing off.
Until
We're
next
running out of
time.
time.